All right, Wyndham Clark is our guest here on the Talk of the Tour podcast. Wyndham joining us out from Napa. Wyndham, I see you're obviously playing here this week. Or last year, you were not in this event, and I find it notable just as we look ahead to the President's Cup, and as many of the American guys have talked about, kind of feeling rusty at last year's Ryder Cup. How much did that impact you wanting to play and get a rep in before the President's Cup begins?
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly why I'm here. I do love this event, and I've played here.
Big wine guy?
Yeah, I mean, I actually am a big wine guy. I love the wine and food here. I've played this event every year of my career other than last year, and that was, I think, a mistake on my part. I wasn't as prepared as I would have liked to have been for the Ryder Cup. So this year for the President's Cup, I wanted to make sure I didn't do that, and there's no better way to stay sharp than playing a PGA Tour event against the best players in the world.
Team event like the Ryder Cup or the President's Cup, like you don't quite know what the experience is going to be like till you do it, So I'm sure that sounds like it was a key learning. Hey, I want to play. I want to feel like I'm not rusty as we're getting out there. Were there other things you've kind of learned from the past Ryder Cup experience that you've tried to keep in mind as you kind of get ready for this next team event?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's things that I think we all learned as a team. Certain communication things that I think we all wanted to hash out. And then some partner stuff I think we've adjusted and we've all talked about throughout the year, even not just in the last couple of weeks. Personally, this is being one of them, making sure I'm sharp, making sure I don't do any tinkering with my equipment before the tournament like I did last year, which was really dumb of me. And then, now knowing how the schedule works where we don't have that much time to work on our game there. So if you're expecting to get ready while you're there, you really don't have time to do that. So I'm going to make sure I'm ready beforehand. And then when I'm there, if there's any tinkering you need, hopefully it's just very minimal versus last year. I felt like I needed to do a lot.
I'm sure it's just an emotional and energetic kind of drain. The week's long. There's a lot of anticipation for it. Anything just about pacing yourself or kind of understanding do you try to embrace everything that's going on because it's such a special week? Are you trying to kind of keep everything, on the straight and narrow so you're ready to go? How are you kind of approaching that? Because it is kind of a lot in the lead up.
Yeah, last year was my first one and I wanted to really enjoy it. And so I embraced everything. When we had fun functions, I wanted to make sure I was enjoying them. And when we went and did sightseeing, I wanted to make sure I was part of that versus some guys maybe didn't go. I think this year at the President's Cup, I'll probably be a little more on the focus now that I've kind of checked off that box of playing a huge event for Team USA. I want to make sure that I'm really focused and ready and that I don't have any regrets in my preparation for the event so that, hopefully I'm one of the guys that has an amazing, 3-0 or 4-0 record this year at the President's Cup.
Is there moments from the Ryder Cup, like when you think about the experience, are there certain memories that come to mind first?
I really look back at a lot of great memories, to be honest. There's some awesome team stuff that we did beforehand that was really fun. Even in our practice rounds, it was so much fun. When Patrick and I won that match against Rory and Fitzy, that was obviously a huge memory, and the hats waving and all that was fantastic. And then just the celebration afterwards in the locker room, all of us having fun and enjoying at least some positivity for that week. And then the opening ceremonies for it was so spectacular. So there's so many good memories when I look back at that. And so I'm really excited that I'm part of the team again this year so that I can make more new good memories.
Captain Jim Furyk has said, hey, we're going to bring a group of guys kind of up a couple days early just to understand the golf course, get everyone acclimated. Royal Montreal, as opposed to Marco Simone or even like Quail Hollow a couple years ago for the President's Cup, there was a ton of data out on those courses. We had seen them regularly. Royal Montreal is one that at least the professional game isn't super, super familiar with, at least recently. So I don't think a lot of fans know what to expect. Do you kind of know what to expect from this golf course and what it may play like and what you may see?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. So I haven't played it. My caddy has played it when he was on the Canadian Tour. And what I know from Canadian golf is it's typically pretty tree-lined, high rough, back-to-front greens. You don't hit as many drivers, which is what I've heard about this place. So it's going to be a lot of making sure you get the ball in play, and then it's a second shot golf course. Really, it takes a little bit, I think, of Team USA's advantage out of our bag of having the distance and hitting it far. But then again, I also feel like we have advantages at all levels. We have some of the best iron players in the game on our team, and putters as well. So I think it's going to fit our game well, and I'm just really hoping the atmosphere is fantastic and that we all bring our game and hopefully give everyone a good show.
When you look at the places you've succeeded at, won at, Pebble, LACC, Quail, even contending at Bay Hill or the Players or things this year, like those golf courses are not that similar. Like I wouldn't stack them up and say Wyndham Clark can only play this style of golf. How much, like, I'm sure that's something you think about. Like when I just look around, like, yeah, they see the same ball flight from you and they may think, oh, you're just a bomber. But from just seeing the types of courses that you won on, like they've been very like varied. Is that something that like you take pride in, or like something that you kind of feel proud of?
Yeah, thanks for noticing that, Paul, because everyone thinks that I'm just a bomb and gouge. I only hit it far. And I feel like, there's certain weeks, obviously, where, people in the crowd are like, oh, you're the favorite to win, whatever. And that's probably because of the distance part. But I feel like I'm the favorite to win when my game is in good form. And so, like you said, I mean, Harbortown, people wouldn't think I would have a good week there. Almost had a chance to win. Bay Hill's different. Players is totally different. Pebble's a different golf course, and then you got Quail Hollow, which is a big yard, and I win at. I mean, I'm really proud of myself that I'm not just a one-trick pony, and that I feel like I could win anywhere. So I think taking that to President's Cup in Montreal, I feel like if my game's good, I'm going to play good.
I remember listening to you chat at the BMW, and you were talking about maybe when the things weren't going so well this year, you had gotten a bit too outcome focused in how you were kind of approaching the game. Can you kind of take me through what you mean by that? Like maybe where that dip happened and why you kind of felt like it happened?
It was mainly around the majors, to be honest. I was so focused on, being one of the top players there. I was having a good season and coming so close to winning a few times, having won, and all that all of that brought me to where I was so focused on, okay, I'm going to come here and win this week. And I used to be that way before I had a lot of success, and all I focused on was winning, and I never won. And then the minute I stopped focusing on my winning and focused on my process and everything that I do to make me successful, then I started winning. And so I just kind of fell back into my old ways. And, some of that's because I maybe listened to the media and some of the hype and whatever it was. I started going, okay, yeah, I am going to win this, or I should win this, and it's all about winning and this. And I just kind of fell back into my old ways. So I kind of did a self-assessment and said, you know what? Yeah, this is, we felt we're kind of doing the same stuff. So let's get back to what has made us play really good golf. And then I started playing good golf again. So it's a great reminder for, next year as I get, if it's the beginning of the year or later in the year, if I fall back into that same rut, at least hopefully this time I get out of it sooner.
We've heard guys like Max talk about, the struggles in the majors is kind of the last thing for him. Up until you win the US Open, like your results in the majors hadn't been great. And then you obviously win. So you jump and you get that success. Has that taken pressure off of you as you've gone to other ones? Or has it almost put more on you because you feel like you need to be there every time in those?
It's probably put on more. I mean, and it's mainly because everyone, I think, puts that pressure on you that, oh, hey, you've won one now, you should win multiple. And I hope that's the case, but it's also tough. I mean, to time it just for those weeks is really hard. And it's amazing what certain guys like Scotty can do and always be there. Or obviously you look back at Tiger and going, man, it's unbelievable that he was always primed and ready for the majors. But I think that's obviously the next thing in my game that I got to improve on as well, is making sure that my game is ready for those majors and I am timing all of that for those events. So it's definitely something that I'm learning. And that's the fun thing is, even with having these great 2 seasons, there's so much I can improve on and get better at. And that's definitely one of the areas.
In your rise, like you spoke a lot about it and it got a lot of talk about kind of your prioritization of your mental health and kind of the mental side of the game. I'm just wondering, because I'm sure in that phase when the success hadn't come yet, a lot of it is telling yourself that it's going to come and trusting the process and doing those things. Then you find the success. So how has like your approach on mental health and your mental side of the game evolved as you do find that success? Because I'm sure it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like you feel validated and you feel like you belong, but then maybe like we've talked about the majors, you start to expect maybe more and maybe that hinders you. So I'm just wondering how like the mental side of it has changed or evolved or stayed the same now that you have found that success.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question because it does kind of go in cycles to where I feel like I'm working on new things in the mental game. And then that was kind of around the Players and Bay Hill this year. I really felt like we were working on some new stuff and it was really good. And I felt like I was getting really comfortable in the moment and feeling like I was the guy. And then next thing you know, I found myself not in those moments again and having to go back to square one where, hey, we're only worried about the things that we can control and making sure we're getting back to process. As I'm learning in this, in the mental game, it kind of seems like it's a circle where you feel like you work on something, you kind of feel like you conquer it, and then you start working on something else and you start doing good on that, and then you realize you have to go back to that other thing. And so it kind of just seems like this cycle of always getting better and improving on each thing, and you hope that when you find yourself in those moments again that you have learned from it and go, okay, you know what, I am doing this, or I need to get better at this. So I feel like I'm excited for this off season that I can maybe really dive into what kind of happened in that lull of why I had maybe 5 to 7 events where I was really just not there, both mentally and physically, and hopefully that we say, okay, we're going to have a better game plan for this year, and hopefully we come out next year firing and then keep it going and not have that huge dip.
I remember talking to Scotty about the off season, and he was talking about it specifically with his putting, and that it's so hard to course correct in the middle of the season, just with the grind of it. You're going week to week, and it's hard to really like sink your teeth into an issue and try to fix it. But the off season allows just so much more time. Is that one thing that you can feel like, hey, with more time, I have time to kind of sink my teeth into all those issues, whereas when you're going week to week, it's kind of just putting Band-Aids on stuff?
Yeah, he's spot on. I mean, you really can't do any serious maintenance to your game. Not only your game, but your body, your mental game, anything. And so for me, it is going to be, I'd like to fix some things, I think, with my swing a little bit. Definitely some body stuff, because I did have an injury that was kind of lingering during all of those majors, which you can't discredit. That is obviously, I'm not at the top of my game when you can't swing the way I normally can swing. And so, yeah, having 3 months where I can make sure I'm really healthy and really strong, and then get away from the game as well, but then also work on some of those mechanic things that you didn't really want to touch during the season because you don't want to screw up even worse, because it's all about scoring during the season. It's all about getting the ball in the hole. It doesn't matter how it looks. So at least in this offseason, you can work on that stuff and hopefully get, make yourself better.
All right, before I let you go, just want to ask, most recently you were on Swing By with Jason Kennedy, came and visited you.
Yep.
What did you take from that experience? How did you enjoy that?
I loved it. I mean, he's just such a good dude, and he's funny. I mean, he took me to this Zen, retreat area where we talked all about the mental game and all about that stuff. And he was joking about me being kind of like a Zen monk. And I was like, I'm far from it. I would love to get to that, but it was a great experience for sure.
And then any Oregon football takes you got 2 weeks in?
Oof, man, I'm not loving how it's looking thus far. I was so excited for this year, being obviously preseason ranked number 2, and then our recruiting class, and then just everyone hyping us up, and even some people thinking we're going to win the Natty this year. I was really feeling.
You're feeling yourself. Yeah.
I was really feeling ourselves, and then we barely squeaked through on both Idaho teams. I was not too happy about that, but maybe that's the wake-up call we need to get the team going. Or maybe it's it shows us that we're not quite there. So here's the good thing is we won those games, and as long as you keep winning, that's all that matters. And I think we'll start finding our stride.
Yeah, win ugly. Still counts the same on the scoreboard.
Still counts the same.
All right. Thanks, Wyndham, so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, man.